Hey, I'm Mia Hemstad. I'm a wife, I'm a mom of 2 kids, and I'm a trauma-informed self-care coach. I also live with diagnosed PTSD and depression. I started sharing my mental wellness journey online in 2017 when I was diagnosed with postpartum depression and anxiety. And since then, I've heard from hundreds of women who all struggle with the same thing, putting ourselves last. This is a struggle that's keeping so many women burned out and unhappy, through no fault of our own, by the way. I've been working on my own healing as an abuse survivor since 2013. But when I became a mom, I really started to do the inner work of figuring out why I was putting myself last and how to start prioritizing myself for the first time in my life. This podcast is about sharing all of those lessons with you. So if you're interested in hearing honest stories, life advice, and inspiration that encourages you to make your health, happiness, and well-being a priority, then definitely stick around. Welcome to your No Longer Last journey. Oh my goodness. Hey guys, Mia here. It has been so long. I feel like I say that most times now. I really wanted to, I finally am at the point where I'm well enough to sit down and record a podcast episode. So much has happened in the world and in America and in my life. Where should I even begin? Well, I think the last time I chatted with you guys, I was taking a break from the podcast because of my premenstrual dysphoric disorder. And I was starting to feel really hopeful because I started a treatment plan for it. And I started to feel a lot of the PMDD symptoms go away. And I was feeling so excited about that and just so grateful. If you're on my weekly letter, I've been sharing more of the week by week journey with that. But then the side effects from the treatment started to become really severe. And one of the side effects, which is really strange, is I've started to clench my jaw and grind my teeth at night. So this has been going on since October. And basically I clench my jaw and grind my teeth so hard while I sleep that I wake up with excruciating pain. Like every muscle in my face, head and neck is like locked up and swollen, and it ends up inducing a migraine. And these migraines are so debilitating that I have to take time off work, take a lot of painkillers, and basically stay laying down. And it was actually on my birthday a few weeks ago that I ended up having to go to the hospital because none of my usual painkillers were working. So I've been going through a lot health-wise, and it's been really hard to have to set aside things like this podcast and other projects that I'm working on, passion projects that really matter to me and that I've been holding on to for years, like 6-7 years. So I've been going through a lot, and I wanted to come on here because, first of all, my lovely husband set up my podcast. He set up the audio, the mic, the camera, and that's one of the things that moving into this new year I decided I was going to do. My word for the year is ease, and that is truly hard for me as somebody who likes to do everything herself, who's used to being hyper independent, who is forced into doing everything myself. And I actually want to roll back and correct that. I said I like to do everything myself. I actually don't, but that's just how I was raised. I didn't have a lot of help. I didn't have a lot of support, and so this word for the year is really about me practicing allowing my life to be easy, even though that might make me uncomfortable, like asking for help or spending money on things that I'm not used to spending money on, or just anything that I can do to make my life easier. And maybe you need that kind of permission as well. So I want to talk about my health journey so far, particularly to hopefully encourage any of you who are dealing with chronic health issues or are used to toughing it out, used to doing everything yourself. I hope to encourage you to also seek out ease and support, because you deserve to have a life where you are not in pain all the time and where you are taken care of and where things are easy. So rolling back, my treatment plan stopped working and I started to experience pain almost every single day. I've been in so much pain, and I still have a full-time job. I was recently promoted actually to director of communications. So things are going well there, but that doesn't mean that it's been easy. I have had to work very hard to manage my chronic illnesses and all the pain that I'm in order to show up and do my job. And this is on top of, taking care of my kids and managing my home, and then writing my weekly letter, which has been the main way that I've been communicating with you all. I'll leave a link in the show notes if you're interested. It's miahemstad.com/letter. And it's been really beautiful to have that. It's like one thing that's just for me, an outlet to share how things are going. I share links to podcast episodes for you to catch up on, and I give a little self-care homework for the week. So that's been really fun to connect with you all in that way. But basically, a few weeks ago, I decided to travel to London to this clinic. They're called the Newson Clinic, and they're a clinic that specializes in perimenopause and menopause, and also premenstrual dysphoric disorder. They use bioidentical hormones to try to help deal with the hormonal imbalances in your body, and they pride themselves on making the treatment individual. So I spent basically what I had left to travel to London and do this appointment and do a lot of blood tests and all this stuff because I really think this is the next treatment option that I want to try for my premenstrual dysphoric disorder, and I'm really hoping that it helps. My doctor there says that my migraines are definitely tied to the last treatment I was on, and that hopefully they will alleviate soon as my hormones start to balance out. So doing that trip to London, it was easier than the first time. It was my second time in London. The first time I went to see Beyonce, and it was easier than the first time. And it made me really glad that I had went to London to see Beyonce, because I had already gone through the full range and spectrum of emotions that come along with doing anything nice for yourself as a mother and as an abuse survivor. It can be really hard to do nice things for ourselves, especially things that cost money. And because I had already gone to see Beyonce 2 years ago, I had already really worked through the feelings of guilt and shame, and you're not worth this, and you're not allowed to have nice things, and who do you think you are, and all those negative put yourself last thoughts. And I worked through them. I literally bought a journal in the airport on my way to London the first time because I could feel so many negative feelings, and that voice was so loud, and I needed a space to put those thoughts down. And I'm so grateful that I just listened to my body and my gut and did that, because at first I didn't pack a journal because I was trying to travel light. And then I was getting so overwhelmed with my thoughts that I knew I needed a space to write. So I got a little pocketbook. So this time around, those feelings were less loud for sure. And I was actually more just proud of myself for literally calling out from work saying, hey, I need to go to London. I need to see this doctor. I really need to address my health concerns. My boss and supervisor were so supportive. Immediately got my plane ticket. Didn't even have time or capacity to do that, to be honest, because I was trying to wrap up work. So I actually asked my husband to book the plane ticket for me. I booked the doctor's appointment. And that's another thing. I've just become really good at delegating things to my husband and asking for more support, which has been a practice, and it's been really good for me to do that. And yeah, I went, I spent some time with some friends in London as well, which was really good to spend time on relationships. Just grateful to have had a place to stay that wasn't, just nice to be with friends. And yeah, honestly, the appointment was really, really good. And I feel really hopeful. I haven't been able to start treatment yet because I need to wait until certain things happen, basically. So, but I'm hopeful that I am with the right healthcare team now, and they're very responsive, and they're very just invested in my care and my stability, my health stability. So I'm just really grateful to be in a place financially and emotionally to do that, because I know that just 4 years ago, 5 years ago, I would have felt too scared and anxious to spend that type of time and money on myself, even though I, have been in so much pain. So I hope that sharing this can encourage anyone listening who is battling a chronic illness, whether that illness be emotional, mental, or physical, or all of the above, to know how deserving you are of feeling better, to know how deserving you are of getting the love and care that you need to feel better. I've shared this before, but some of my biggest traumatic memories are connected to the doctor, and specifically not being taken to the doctor when I needed to. And I almost died when I was 17 because of this medical neglect. And you would think that now my response as an adult would be to always take myself to the doctor the moment I need it. But it's been a journey of many years of inner work and therapy to get to a place where I immediately respond with getting myself the care I need, because the trauma that I went through actually made me resistant to go to the doctor, because I think psychologically my brain was like, well, if I was never taken as a child, then there must be something to be scared of, whether it's, experiencing not good care, or whether it's getting a big bill in the mail, or whatever it is. I really have had to work so hard to unpack all of the reasons why I resist going to the doctor when I need to. And that's one of the things that I constantly encourage my clients every month when we meet and we journal. I encourage them to not just identify what they're not doing or what they're neglecting to do for their self-care, but to reflect on what's getting in the way. What is fueling the resistance? Because it's not just a matter of, oh, I don't know what's wrong with me. I'm so stupid. I need to get my shit together. I don't know. I just need to make the time. I don't know. I've just been busy. Because 100% of the time when you dig deeper, there's always something more there. The reason why you're struggling to take care of yourself has very little to do with just you keep forgetting to make the appointment. It's almost never the case. Every single time I've dug deep with a client for the last 4 years of doing this work, it's always something deeper. And so I encourage you to go deeper. That's what I'm really proud of. I feel like over the last year, I would say since last May, when I took a break from the podcast to really start to do the research to address what causes PMDD, what could fix PMDD, who could help me with my PMDD, and started that medical process. I have gotten so much better at staying on top of my health. And one of the tools that helped me, and I know some of you guys might be sick of hearing me saying this, is journaling every week using my weekly wellness journal prompts, or what I'm calling my no longer last journey prompts. And those are the 3 prompts. Number 1, how am I doing mentally, emotionally, and physically? Number 2, what self-care do I need to address how I'm doing? And number 3, what do I need to decrease, delete, and delegate in order to make space for the self-care that I need? And those 3 prompts that I touch base with every Sunday, I've resurrected them since May. And it's the reason why I don't somehow forget about me. And a lot of moms can relate to this. We put our needs on the back burner, and then we just forget about them until they're screaming their way to the forefront of our lives again, right? Either through a migraine or a hospital stay or what have you. And by touching base every week, it has enabled me to keep momentum on this journey and to not forget about it. And again, when I say forget about it, I'm not blaming me and I'm not blaming you. There are so many things constantly competing for our attention and constantly competing for priority in our lives, whether it's our children's needs or our jobs needs or our house needs. There's always something that's not being done in order to prioritize something else. But the mantra that I have been reminding myself and that I will remind you of today is, without your health, everything else falls apart. You can't be a mother without your health. You can't be a good employee without your health. You can't be a good business owner without your health. You can't be a good partner without your health. You can't be a good friend without your health. You only have one body and brain, and you don't get to exchange it if you break it. And I know that's hard to hear, but it's something that I have been reminding myself of and that I wanted to pass on to you, because truly everything falls apart. And that is a good segue to my next point, which is I know a lot of us, including myself, are feeling really devastated, just completely devastated and gutted over the election in the United States, over what's happening to our democracy, over what's happening to people of color, immigrants, queer people. It feels like an all-out attack on people who don't have the benefit of being the preferred, race and socioeconomic background and religious background and all these things. And It's been really hard to witness, and I just want to remind you that you can't change the world if you're burned out. There's so much work we have to do to improve our country, and you really can't do that kind of work without a lot of capacity and a lot of strength and a lot of resilience and a lot of optimism. So if you are a social justice advocate like me and you have a big heart for social issues, I want to remind you that taking care of yourself is part of the revolution. It's part of fighting back. It's part of being here for the marathon that is social justice work. And I want to remind you that your care of yourself is what responsibility looks like. It is what true responsibility looks like. You're not helping the cause. You're not helping your family. You're not helping anyone if you burn yourself out or if you neglect yourself because you are stuck in the swirling spiral of chaos that is the news right now. So I try to remind myself of that. You know, I've shared this in my letter, but I downloaded what's called the Freedom app, and it's cost me $40 a year, not sponsored or affiliated. And it's been great. I block Instagram and YouTube. I'm only allowed to access it for 2 hours a day. I'm able to set a time. It only lets me in at 4 p.m. to 6 p.m. And that's the time that works for me. And that ensures that I'm not on it in the morning when my brain is most susceptible to being like affected by what's going on in the world. I'm in a much better like headspace. I know my time to log in is at 4, and so I'm very intentional about what I'm doing when I'm allowed in. And so I just really encourage you to stop trying to do everything yourself. You know, going back to that word of ease, I just want to remind you that ease also looks like subscribing to a social media blocking site or app or whatever, or tool. Because I got tired of having to constantly make the moment by moment, minute by minute, hour by hour choice to not log in, like picking up my phone and having to like check the compulsion to check Instagram and check the compulsion to scroll through YouTube shorts. That's exhausting. That's a waste of energy. And if you live with chronic illness like me, you know that energy is precious and it's limited. And we don't have time or energy to be constantly trying to police our use of social media. So instead, I subscribe to an app that keeps me off of those apps and only lets me in when I'm ready and when it's valuable to me and my time. So that's another example of how I've been bringing ease into my life. But yeah, I just want to say that in addition to getting PMDD treatment, I've also been going to the dentist to get my jaw checked because apparently all this teeth grinding since October has been wearing down my molars. And they checked my jaw and they said that I do have a little bit of a crooked jaw. It's a little misaligned, and that if I got my teeth and my jaw aligned, that it could help my molars not get worn down so much. And then they'll create a custom Invisalign and then a custom night guard to protect my teeth. And I've heard this from a few dentists over the years that I could benefit from straightening my bite. And I only now, in the first time in my life, have the money to afford getting Invisalign. And I know it's such a privilege and a blessing to be able to do that. But I just have to say that I've noticed a lot of discomfort rising up in my chest. It feels like a constriction. It feels almost like I have a weight on my chest. And I recognize that feeling. It's the feeling of discomfort that comes from spending money on myself. And I realize that, you know, spending money on your health shouldn't feel this way. But as I've mentioned, spending money on my health is hard for me. It's triggering. And this is something I was like, I really wanted to mention to you guys because I think a lot of people, I was talking to a friend and she was just like, every time I do boring self-care, I get no pleasure from it whatsoever. And it's so funny that she said that because I thought to myself, who gave you the expectation that boring self-care is supposed to be pleasurable? Most of the time, almost all the time, it's never enjoyable. I do my best to make it enjoyable. Like if I have to clean my house, I might go try to treat myself to an affordable lunch afterwards. Or if I have to do my taxes, I might stop at my favorite coffee shop to get a coffee to have with me while I do my taxes. I try to make it enjoyable, but the activity itself is never enjoyable. I'm not going to enjoy getting, Invisalign and keeping my teeth in a trap for the next year. I don't enjoy getting all the x-rays. I don't enjoy going to the dentist all the time. But what I try to remind my clients is I want you to focus on not the feeling you'll feel while you're doing your boring self-care, but the feeling you'll feel when you've completed it. And 9 times out of 10, Like, unless it's just something super awful, you are going to feel relieved because you did the thing that you knew you needed to do. The thing that happens when we avoid or procrastinate on boring self-care is it ends up taking up mental bandwidth, and it wears on us and it weighs on us, and it's that nagging thing that you're like, I know I need to do this, I know I need to do this, but I don't want to do it, but I don't want to do it. When you show up and you just get it done and then you reward yourself, you feel peace of mind from getting it done. And then you have that little reward at the end that says, hey, you did it. Good job. I want to treat you for doing the hard thing. So I just want to remind you that if you are putting pressure or expectation on your self-care to feel a certain way, I really want you to take those expectations. I want you to set it into the metaphorical dumpster and just set it on fire. Like, put it in the trash, because that's what it is. It's trash. Expectation only breeds disappointment and a feeling of not enoughness. And it's really important that we don't place expectations on things that really don't need us to have any expectation on it. So that's something I wanted to bring up, that it will feel uncomfortable if you are on a health journey and you're having to show up for your health in a way that you never have. It's going to feel uncomfortable because you've never done it before. So it's okay that it feels uncomfortable. It doesn't mean that you're doing anything wrong. It doesn't mean that you're a bad person or that you messed up. This isn't your fault. It's not your fault that you have all these health problems, and it's the only thing that you can do is take care of yourself as best as you can. And that's part of the no longer last journey. It's, how can I show up for myself today? How can I make sure that I'm not on the back burner in life, and then wake up 6 years later and realize I never took care of myself the way that I needed. So that's all I have for you today. I really hope that sharing this little update can help you. I'm hoping that I'll be able to show up on podcasts more often now that my husband is in charge of setting up my podcast for me and getting it out there, so that all I have to do is sit down and record. I'm so lucky that now he's my podcast producer. And then I just wanted to encourage you again that the most consistent way to stay in touch and to get self-care encouragement and support from me is through my weekly letter. It's really an incredible roundup of resources. It starts with a personal reflection, but then links you to podcast episodes, gives you a self-care homework for the week. And I also always link to my journal prompts. So those 3 prompts that I told you about earlier, that I really hope that you sit down every Sunday with and use it to check in with yourself, so that you don't fall to the wayside, so that you don't forget about yourself, so that you don't wake up 6 months later having to go to the hospital because you've been neglecting yourself. These journal prompts are truly a game changer. I use them every month in my coaching program, and I give them to you for free every week in my weekly letter. So those are linked there for you. But yeah, it's a great resource, and I hope to see you inside there. And I love when people respond and reply and let me know if the letter resonated and what resonated. But yeah, that's all I have for you today. I want to thank you for spending your precious time with me. I really don't take it for granted. And I will hopefully be seeing you very, very soon. Bye.